Well, what makes it so that in Canada, the English and the French here aren't killing each other, and these Kurds and the Shiite and the Sunni in Iraq would be killing each other? What lesson can we take from Canada and apply it to Iraq? And I've been thinking about this for a while and trying to figure out what exactly made it so the French and the English could live in some kind of equilibrium here. I mean, you can ask any of our prime ministers here that Canada seems like it'd be an impossible country to rule. I mean, if you think about two peoples who historically could not get along with one another, it's the English and the French, but we were able to keep them in some kind of equilibrium here and prevent them from killing each other. I mean, there have been kind of wars and skirmishes in the past, and Quebec almost seceded a couple decades ago, but besides that, things have been almost relatively stable. I'm not going to say it's perfect by any means, but we certainly haven't been killing each other over here. So what exactly is that? Now, how can we apply that to Iraq? And I actually talked to my girlfriend about this, and the first thing she said, well, we have a lot of space in Canada, and because there's a lot of space, they don't need to be that close to one another. And I thought that actually might be a decent answer. But that we can't really apply that to Iraq and figure out what exactly we're going to do there. So I was thinking that perhaps that it's the fact that these two entities came together under some kind of cooperation and formed a system of legislative government that would defend the interests of both. That the French and the English came together in the inception of Canada when we were becoming our own nation, and we tried to hash out a type of country and a type of government that would be in the best interest in both of these people. That all these people could have a say in what went on in this country, and have some kind of effect over the policy in some kind of equilibrium. And to me, that's the only way we're going to reach some kind of situation between all these ethnic peoples in Iraq. We have to find a way for them to come together and all co-sign on some kind of equilibrium or some kind of government. If they're not going to be able to do that, then we've got to split them up into their own separate nations, which, as he said in the post, that raises some more questions and some more issues, but it seems like the most logical course of action. Sorry, I'm actually running out of time. But all things considered, actually, I think I'll just split this up into two parts so I can keep going. But yeah, all things considered, if we don't find some way that these guys can live under some kind of rough equilibrium with one another, then they're going to kill each other. Because, as again, Dan said in the post, that these guys don't want to live underneath a government ruled by one of these different ethnicities. Here in Canada, we've had both English and French prime ministers, and they always try to do the best for the country, and taking into account both these people. And again, I was thinking, is it possible to do that in Iraq? Could we actually do something like that? Could we actually come to get these groups together and have them create some kind of system where we could have a Kurd prime minister who would actually do the best for the entire nation of Iraq, that we could hash out some kind of legislation or constitution that would be in the best interest of all these parties? Is it actually possible? Is there something to that, or does the nature of these people and the nature of this conflict not allow such a situation to be devised? And these are the questions that I was having. I was running through my head. That how can we take what has kept the English and the French and Canada from killing one another and somehow apply that to Iraq? And I really don't have a solid answer to that. I really have, like I said, I've been thinking about this for a while and trying to figure out what was it that kept, you know, us from killing each other here. And like I said, the only two things I might be able to come up with was, you know, we've got a lot of space in Canada, so these people weren't exactly right on top of each other. And, you know, they had lots of room to go. I think Quebec is actually, area-wise, I'm pretty sure it's bigger than France. Actually, I think it's significantly bigger than France, which might give you perspective of how big Canada actually is. That, or that when this country was created, we had a constitution that was in the best interest of both of these ethnic groups to cooperate and to work together. So, you know, I don't have any good answers here. It's a tough situation because, you know, if it was an easy situation, we would have figured it out anyway. But regardless, the way things are going down right now is not the route to go. We can't just sit there in Iraq and hope that things will resolve themselves. That, you know, these guys will just realize, you know what, I'm kind of bored, you know, waiting for this opportunity for us to, you know, kill each other. Let's just abandon the whole prospect together. Unless, of course, we have another dictator come to power and hold these people forcibly together through the means of, you know, an iron-fisted regime. And, you know, I'm of the very minority position that I don't think having a dictator rule a country is necessarily a bad thing. I'm pretty sure some of you have heard the phrase before that a benevolent dictator is the best form of government. That a nice dictator is going to do, you know, the most for all the people, and he has the people's interests in his heart. He's going to do the most for, you know, the country. And it would be the best regime because the best policies would always come from a benevolent dictator. And he wouldn't have to go through the checks and the balances and a legislative process that a democratic system, you know, puts in front of a prime minister or president. But, you know, I don't know if we're going to find a benevolent dictator to rule Iraq. But, you know, just the way things are going right now is not the route to go down, because we're essentially just hitting the pause button, and I guess we could hold the pause button down for as long as you wanted, but that's going to cost, you know, the Americans more money, and as we all know, that America is not exactly in the best financial situation right now, so they should probably be looking for ways to cut back money. You know, we're just going to hold it. You're just going to hold down that pause button, visibly costing that government more and more money, and still not to get to any kind of real resolution in that place. The only way we're going to get to a resolution, we break them up, or we find some way that these guys can come together and create a government that is in the best interest, and each one of them has sort of an equal part in moving and creating policy and dictating the direction of the country. Whether or not that's realistic is an entirely different question. So, you know, I don't know what to do in that situation. I always like to see what you guys think should be done. The people who listen to the show usually have, you know, pretty good knowledge of what's going on, and I always enjoy seeing what people have to say about, you know, these situations that I talk to. I enjoy reading the comments, and often I get good ideas, and, you know, think about things I wouldn't have thought of on my own if I didn't read the comments. So I like to hear what you think about the whole situation. But before I go, there is one last thing I would like to talk about. I'd like to address, because later on in that thread, someone posted that Dan did not mention the most important thing, that if we leave Iraq, Iran is going to come in and take over. And maybe we'll have another show about Iran, because I do have a lot of things to say about that whole situation. But I think personally, I wasn't going to actually talk about this because I thought it was like really not worth talking about, but I think a lot of people are actually of that opinion. But to me, that is really the dumbest thing anyone could really say about this whole thing. Because what makes you think that a less competent and less sophisticated military than the American military, which, let's be honest, is obviously the most competent and sophisticated in the world, what makes you think that the army of Iran is going to have a better ability to control the peoples of Iraq than the army of America, which is the most competent and sophisticated in the world? It's not going to happen. Iran is not going to be able to just come in and sweep over Iraq and take over and hold it, because if America couldn't do it, then Iran is certainly not going to be able to do it either. So usually, to me, that's just kind of a really, it's just a moot point. It's not worth discussing in depth. But all that being said, I've gone way overboard in time. I'm going to have to split this up into two pieces. So I kind of hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a different format here, where I actually brought up someone's work that wasn't my own and got to talk about it and got to discuss it, maybe respond to it in a little fashion. That's something I want to do in the future, and find good stories or good posts or good ideas or whatever, and maybe bring them on and discuss them a little bit. So all that being said, this is going to be Joseph, he's running with Stalin, signing off for now, and you guys take care.